best lazy gift ever, but with a caveat. Hi everyone, it's Tasha and welcome to another recipe video. And today we're going to be making Pretzel Matcha bark. Timestamps are down below in the description if you want to skip the initial blah blah, but stick around if you'd like to chat about what we're making first. I made this because I really wanted some matcha chocolate covered pretzels. Can't really get them here, or you can order them online, but they're kind of expensive. But I'm also incurably lazy, and making chocolate pretzels involves dipping pretzels one by one into chocolate. Yeah, not gonna happen. I am too tired to do that. So the next best thing is to just chuck a bunch of pretzels onto a sheet of melted chocolate. And this also makes a really great gift too. Now a little word of warning before we go ahead and make this. Usually when you make any kind of chocolate bark, you snap it to break it up. This one, because we are lightly pressing our toppings, and they are brittle toppings, on top of the chocolate, I'd actually recommend going in with a knife and cutting in between the pretzels. I got a bit blasé about it. I forgot that pretzels are fragile, so when I went to snap it, as you will see towards the end of this video, some of the pretzels just shattered and some actually came unstuck from the chocolate. So if you're thinking of gifting these, and they do make lovely gifts, get in there with a knife in between the pretzels to cut it up. Don't just snap it with your hands. Now to make this, we're going to need to temper the chocolate. If you want to find out how to temper chocolate without any fancy equipment, no microwave, no thermometer, just a bowl and some hot water, and I actually did a whole video about it, which I'm going to link up above and down below now. But don't worry, I'm also going to cover the basics as we go along today. When making any kind of melted and re-solidified chocolate recipe, it is very important that you do temper your chocolate, because when you heat it up to melt it, you're actually disrupting the cocoa butter crystals that make them set nicely. So there is a bit of a method to get it to set back up again and get those crystals back again. Again, I go into this in full detail in that chocolate tempering video, but that's just a brief reason why you do need to do it. A lot of recipes will just tell you melt the chocolate, add the ingredients, spread it out, set it, done. But you risk heating your chocolate too much that way, and then you'll find if you put it in the fridge, yes, it will set, but as soon as you take it out, it will go all floppy and it won't hold its shape. So yes, always temper your chocolate, and I will show you briefly my easy method in this video too as we go. So with all that said, let's go to the kitchen and see how it's done. So as with all of my recipes that involve tempering chocolate without any fancy equipment, we're starting with a pan of barely simmering water. In fact, this isn't even simmering, it's just steaming. But every so often it will come up to a simmer and then go back down again. This is all we want. We don't want it any hotter because we don't want to burn our chocolate. And for this recipe, I'm using about a total of 200 grams of white chocolate. Here I have a heat-proof bowl, which I set on top of the water, and I make sure the water doesn't touch the bottom. And we've got about half of our 200 grams of chocolate, so about 100 grams of white chocolate in there. And we're going to gradually add the other 100 grams a bit later when this is almost melted, and I'll explain that in more depth as we go. And to this initial 100 grams of chocolate, we're going to add a very heaped tablespoonful of matcha. And now we're just going to let this melt a little bit, but not all the way. Let's give it a stir, and ooh, that is looking good. When it starts melting like this, do give it a little bit of a stir to get the matcha going. And I find matcha dissolves really easily in white chocolate, so I really like working with the two together. At this point I'm going to turn the heat on, but keep stirring. And now that is about half melted, I'm actually going to take this off the heat. I'm going to leave this here because we might need it in a little bit. So now we're going to keep stirring until the residual heat in the bowl melts the rest of this chocolate. The idea is we don't want to get it too hot, because then it more easily falls out of that crystalline structure, which makes it set nicely. And now, bit by bit, we're going to add the rest of our chocolate. So at first, because the bowl and the chocolate is warm enough, we're going to add them in big chunks, and then we're going to wait and stir until all that chocolate is melted, and then we're going to add a bit more, and we're going to keep doing this until no more chocolate will melt, and that is when our chocolate is tempered. Also, make sure you scrape down the sides constantly so we don't get any little patches of untempered chocolate in there. Keep stirring because this helps the crystalline structure reform. Now this is nearly done. The very last block I put in there took ages to melt, so for insurance I'm going to add one more in, give it a stir, and then I'm going to do the fridge spoon test, which I'll explain in a minute. Now even though it didn't seem like it was going to melt at first, it has continued melting a little bit, so it was worth putting it in there. As you'll notice, the chocolate itself is becoming gloopier and gloopier, so let's grab our spoon, which I've kept in the fridge all of this time, and do a test. You don't have to do this, but I like to do it for extra insurance. Take our spoon, which I've actually put in the freezer. I forgot it wasn't the fridge, it was the freezer. I'm going to keep stirring, and we're going to see if it sets by itself. So let's just hold the spoon. And I don't know if you can see, but it is going dull, which means it is setting well. Dull and glossy, a bit matte, but still shiny. Let's do the finger test. Oh, as you can see, it's coming off in one go. Yes, that is tempered. Still a bit soft because, you know, I only waited a few seconds, but the fact that it sets so quickly is a good indication. So now that no more chocolate will melt, we don't want a big lump of random white chocolate in there, so let's fish it out. I'm going to get a little fork. Get as much matcha chocolate off of it as possible because matcha's not cheap, don't want to waste it. I'm actually going to set this aside on a little bit of tin foil, let it set and eat later. And remember I said to keep that hot water on the hob, then if this has become too thick, which it isn't at the moment, you can actually pop this back on the heat just for a few seconds to loosen up the chocolate again, but this is actually quite workable, so I'm going to work with it like this. So all I have here is a tray which I've lined with some kitchen foil. I've got my spatula there to smooth things out if I need to. I'm going to pour this straight on in the middle. And you know what, I can just do this with the back of a spoon, don't need the spatula at all. That will do, don't want to spread it too thin. Oh, I didn't need to use my spatula at all. And now for the pretzels. I happen to have some Christmas tree shaped ones, but you can use any. This is a 200-gram bag. We're definitely not going to need all of those. I'm just going to pick up the best looking ones and I'm going to dot them around. Phew, I was cutting it fine there because what I didn't mention was if you temper chocolate really well, it will set at room temperature. So while I was doing that, it was actually beginning to set around the edges. Perfect, at least we know we've done a good job. So now we're just going to pop this in the fridge for 10 minutes to set. And here we are, fabulous. All we have to do now is peel it off and snap it. So let's do that now. Oh, it's so easy when it's in foil. I should have seen that coming. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to snap in between the actual pretzels because that is more sensible. There we go. What you can do in this situation is give it a cheeky heat up, the chocolate I mean, and stick them back. There we go. You can use the back of a hot spoon that you've dipped in water and then dried. So that's a solution. Right, I'm going to reassemble this to look pretty on the table. Well, yeah, that could have gone better with the breaking up. I should have used a knife to get in between those pretzels, but they stuck back on just fine, even if a little messily. Next time I will use a knife for sure, but they still look amazing, just a little bit messy. Aha, so cute. So after all that, I'm going to take a bite. Cheers. Now, of course, you can put anything you like on top of the chocolates within reason. Don't put beef jerky on it or something. Or do, free will exists. I can't stop you from making beef jerky matcha chocolate. But if you want more classic toppings and sprinkles, M&Ms, you can put them alongside the pretzels on top as well and create a really crazy bark. But because we're using matcha, I would recommend you keep it simple, because matcha is best enjoyed when you can actually taste it. So there you go, matcha pretzel bark. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's recipe video, and I hope you will join me next Wednesday for my next one. Get the full written recipe on my blog tashcakes.com, follow me on Instagram, I'm tashcakes.tastes, and find me on TikTok too, I'm tashcakes there too, but my handle is Foods in Slow Motion. Subscribe and hit the notification bell if you'd like to see more, give this video a like if you'd like to help other people find it, comment down below if you'd like me to make anything in particular, and I'll see you all next time. Be good, be nice, and have a good week. I feel like I need another little plant in that corner, well, maybe a big plant with lots of leaves coming out. What do you think? Should I add a plant?